Browns Blitz is brought to you by BigPlay.com and Cleveland Sports Talk. Now here are your hosts, Rod Bloom and Sam Maddie.
Hello and welcome to the Browns Blitz. This is episode number 5, and today is Monday, March 18th. Here with my partner, Sam Maddie. How we doing, Sam?
Doing all right, Rod. How was your weekend, man?
I was pretty good. A little bit of a blur, being that we're on Monday now. But, yeah, it's a good weekend. How about you?
Everything went well, just kind of low-key. Had some nice weather that I wasn't expecting, so got to go out and hit a couple golf balls on the range, so that was nice, practice for the summer. And then jumped right into another busy week of work for this week. So I'll be heading up to Ohio later this weekend, so I'm just looking forward to that.
Yeah, you just kind of sprung this golf thing on me, so that you play golf. I know you said you talked about it before, so yeah, we're going to have to hook up on this, and I'm sure you'll probably take me to school, but yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. So we're not going to delay this any longer. We've got the man Paul Brown with us. Paul Brown from all the way across the pond in the UK. Paul, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm very well, thanks, Rod. Sam, how are you, buddy?
Doing all right, man. Yourself?
Very, very good. Are we ready to talk Browns?
Ready to talk Browns.
Awesome. Well, Sam, I want to start off with, I'm very upset I'm your 5th guest and not your number 1 guest.
You're not my 5th guest. You're my 3rd guest.
Oh, okay. That's better then.
We don't do a guest on every show, Paul. So,
okay.
So yeah. Before we dive in, though, why don't you get everything out there, everything you're working on, all your projects. Let everybody know where to find you. Anybody that hasn't followed your work yet, which probably isn't a lot of people, but
not at all.
Let's lay it out there.
Well, let's not talk about my podcast because we're on a nice podcast at the moment. So at the moment, I'm putting a lot of effort into trying to do a weekly vlog from London, being a Browns fan. And this weekend, there were some guys over from Ohio, and we all went out and had some drinks. And I took out Odell Beckham in London.
Awesome. What was the reaction? What's the reaction over there in London to the news?
Okay, good question. So it was trending during the night higher than politics, Brexit, everything. I even got a screenshot on my phone. It was going off the charts. And obviously, if I asked any of my friends, name one Cleveland Browns player before Odell joined, I'd probably say 1 in 5 would say Baker Mayfield, and that would be it. Maybe 1 in 10 would know Landry, and maybe 1 in 20 would know Myles Garrett. So, no, people knowing about Cleveland Browns in London would be not a lot. However, you say the word Odell Beckham, most people know Odell Beckham in London.
I'm kind of surprised that Baker is not better known there, but I guess it's still kind of early for that, huh?
Yeah, Beckham is obviously similar name to David Beckham, which helps.
Yep.
I think he's got history with the Kardashians as well, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
Big over here, the Kardashians, and he's been over quite a lot of times doing link-ups with. I'll say it as it's your show, soccer players here in England. Okay. So there's been quite a lot of link-up on our TVs with Odell Beckham.
How would you? Who's the biggest? Like, what team has the biggest fanhood there, Paul?
It's a really good question. Again, I've done a bit of research at the moment because I'm about to host a NFL night in London where we're going to get all the teams in London together, all 32 teams, and do a mock draft first 3 rounds.
Cool.
So during this exercise, I was going through, and I thought the Jags weren't as big as they were, but they've got about 20,000 followers, I think, on Twitter. Jags, but in the streets, you'd probably see the most Pats, beanies, hoodies on the streets, Brady jerseys. then probably Eagles, and then probably the Cowboys.
Do you think a lot of people? Do you think there's a lot of bandwagon fans in England? Just because obviously those teams that you mentioned had recently been to Super Bowls, or is there a lot of history behind why people like their teams?
No, it's very much. I think in England, you'd potentially just pick what team you want to pick, or maybe if you went to Florida on holiday, you'd pick Tampa, but otherwise. You do what you like, you see on TV, really. So unlike EPL or English football, where wherever you come from, that's the team you support. With NFL, it's very relaxed, and it's a lot of it to do with eras. Like Chicago Bulls would be around my age, around 37, 38. You'd have a lot of Chicago Bulls fans. Then obviously the next era you'd have. Oh God, I'm gonna test my basketball knowledge here. It was a Shaq at the
Lakers.
The Lakers, yeah.
Did he go to another team, the Wizards? Was it after?
No, he played for the Orlando Magic, the Lakers, and then he went to Boston, and then he went
Magic.
to Miami.
Yes, obviously Magic, and then obviously now the was it West Coast State or whatever they're called?
Golden State.
Golden State, that's the one. Yeah, over in San Fran. That's like a big team now in London that we see a lot of.
Gotcha.
We don't talk about them much
No.
in Cleveland, Paul.
So I didn't do anything wrong saying the name wrong because they mean nothing on this show.
That's right.
So talking about the Browns, Paul, what does it mean to be a Browns fan now?
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a spoiled kid when I say this. I always like being the underdog. So it was quite exciting being a Browns fan as the underdog, coming very close over the last 3 years. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park, as a lot of Browns fans think it's going to be. We've got a lot of new personnel and a lot of new players in the building. But when you look at the raw talent on this team, yeah, and when you speak about other people in the division, they're all. Can I swear in the show?
Sure.
They're all shitting themselves now because of the Browns and the potential of the team. So it is a really exciting position to be in, and without a question of doubt, we're going to do better than last year. But it kind of the excitement of being the underdog and winning has gone a little bit. But I am super excited about actually getting to the playoffs, hopefully in the next year, 2 years.
So a lot of people have been talking about their fan ID cards and bandwagon fans on Twitter. Where do you stand on this?
I'm going to take a commercial view first of all. Is if you've got people wanting to come to your city to watch your team, I would open my arms to anyone who want to do that. Obviously, if it's more difficult for the local kid to get the tickets, then you've got to review things. But as long as the local kid can always get tickets, I think it's great to have your stadium sold out every single game. And if that means new fans, then I've got no problem with that.
I agree with that, man. It's, I guess maybe I've just been ignoring it just because I'm so excited about all the talk with the Browns is, I've noticed on my Twitter personally that I have a lot more Oklahoma Sooner fans, and I absolutely love my Sooner fans out there and how they have followed Baker Mayfield onto the Browns and become really strong fans of the Browns. Like you said, I'm just happy that people are recognizing us. I don't really care. We've got these hardcore people that, yeah, we've been through the trials and tribulations of what was the Cleveland Browns, but that's over, and we're in a completely new generation now. So it's a new time and era, and I just, for me, it's the more fans, the better. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah,
Rod.
I agree with both of you guys. I do, and at first I didn't, but I really thought about it. Lately I've been doing a lot of flip-flopping, you guys. and I'm going to admit that freely. I pretty much did this on the OBJ trade. I've done it on this bandwagoning thing, but to me, I think a lot of people felt at first on the bandwagoning, they're like, wait a minute, we've supported this team for 20, 30 years. they're finally good. These other people don't have a right to enjoy what's going to happen. Well, anybody who's going to jump on and then jump right back off later, so be it. It doesn't matter. I think anybody who's been a long-suffering fan, this is going to be such a great ride. Don't worry about who's on it with you. Just enjoy the ride. And the fact that we have a team that so many people are going to love to follow with us, it's just a positive thing. That's how I look at it.
I think if everyone buys a jersey and they know the chance, I can't see there being a problem.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, so go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, and look, if you're a season ticket, you're a season ticket. You're gonna have your seat. The dog pound will always be the dog pound.
Mm-hmm.
The stadium's gonna be louder with more people in the stadium every single game. I can only see it as a better thing for the club.
Yep, for sure. Is there a lot of fans? Is there a lot of Browns fans in England?
So with my research and talking to Kelly, who's the British president of the British Backers, we've got a Facebook group of about 700. So take away 200 of them who are US fans that are just interested to see what we're doing over in England. I would say there's 500 on social media, and I think there's another 500 that are unfounded yet. So when I go to Wembley, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the games over here, if I ever see a Browns jersey, the first thing I do is stop and go, "Hey, are you on the website? Who are you? Blah blah blah." And a lot of them never heard of us on social media. So I feel there's a lot of fans out there that don't know about the British Browns backers on social media.
Gotcha.
So I would say an educated guess of maybe 800 to 1,000 British fans.
Where do you all watch your games, Paul? Where do you all watch the Browns play over there? Is there a specific place that y'all catch every game on Sundays?
Yeah, so this is going to be a bit different to you guys. Maybe if you go on holiday to, say, Vegas, you may experience something a bit similar. But we will go to it's called the Hippodrome. It's in Leicester Square in the centre of London, and it's a casino. So that means it's open 24/7. And what they do is they've got like three or four big rooms, and each room's divided into like 3 screens. So you'll go in there, and then you look at the map like a wedding planning, and you go, okay, we're on screen 2 over there. And then you'll get, say, 50 Browns fans and maybe 30 Steelers fans, and we'll all watch the game in a little area together. And next to us, there'll be Eagles versus Pats, and they'll all be shouting at different times. So it's got a real great NFL buzz, and there's no real hatred in there. I think I've been going there for 3-4 years, and I've only seen one ever fight.
Sounds like it's a really exciting atmosphere for sure. It's kind of like resembling like how the World Cup and how countries follow their soccer teams like that. Kind of the same atmosphere.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Sam. It is a very good feeling, and obviously there's a lot of ripping against each teams, but yeah, it's always in a good manner.
Good deal. All right, let's so next, I wanted to bring up Sashi Brown, good old Sashi Brown. The name has been brought up recently, and a lot of people on Twitter I've been seeing that they think that Sashi deserves a lot of the credit for the recent success for the Browns. So I want to ask you both, what is your take on Sashi Brown and linking that to the success that the Browns are having currently?
I personally feel that we don't know if it's a fact yet, but what he did with the AJ McCarron deal was a real game changer for the Browns. And the way he stockpiled the draft picks were always great for Dorsey. I think he can only benefit from that. But look, my co-host Jack is very Sashi Brown heavy. But like Sashi Brown's had his opportunity. He was unable to work with Hugh Jackson, and he kind of lost the battle with Hugh Jackson and the owners. I think it's now time to move on and back Dorsey. And people say, well, look, what Dorsey done? He's like picked quite safe picks, but I think Avery and even like the Danny Shelton deal, going in and getting a third round for Danny Shelton, and then he's now left Pats. He's struggling to find a team. That just shows that's a real good value pick or a good trade.
Rob, what's your take on Sashi Brown?
Yeah, I agree with Paul. He did some good things. I mean, I think he handled the Myles Garrett draft properly. Made some good picks. I like what he did there. Obviously, the AJ McCarron thing, whether it was intentional or not, it worked out properly, and he did what he was supposed to do. He tore the team down. He freed up capital. He got draft picks. He did positive things. Now, I don't know that he would have been able to do anything close to what John Dorsey's done. So, sure, you want to give him some credit for what he did, but John Dorsey has taken it to an entirely different level. So I'm with Paul. You got to just move on and say, sure, Sashi did his part, but his part's done. And now we have a football guy in who just keeps making move after move to strengthen this team and make it better than it's been since the reincarnation. And you just have to take your hat off to Dorsey and say, to me, you have to feel like regardless of the hand that Dorsey was dealt when he came into Cleveland, he would have found a way to make something out of this.
Yeah, I think the Kaiser Randall trade, A1, excellent.
Yeah, and he's done so many things like that. I mean, that's obviously one of the prime examples, but just being able to pick guys like Avery and Callaway late in the draft and get picks for guys and some of the recent trades, not everybody can pull stuff like that off.
Yeah, if you look at what we got out of the Pats last year, I think we got a fifth for Flash Gordon and Danny Shelton a third. That's value picking. He's done well, and Hyde as well. You have to remind me.
And that third round pick was used in the part of the Kevin or the OBJ
yes.
deal as well. Well, no, it wasn't. They took that back. I'm sorry. Originally, it was a part of the Kevin Zeitler trade, but then they changed it once OBJ got traded.
But it was a key part at the time.
Sure.
So yeah, if we didn't have that, it may have been a little bit more complicated to make it work. So yeah, I think what everything's Dorsey's doing is great. Jack, my co-host, what he's concerned about is what he did with the Chiefs, which was overspend, and he's concerned, obviously, about going into the future. But today, I feel that everything that Dorsey's doing is he's doing it right. And someone like Chad Thomas hasn't really worked out yet, a third round pick, but 1 in 15. Haven't really worked out, that's fine. I think we just have to move on from something like that. And maybe next year he can come and surprise us.
What has been your favorite John Dorsey move so far?
Yeah, I've said the Randall. I like Avery as well as a 5th round pick. And yeah, forgetting Odell Beckham, forgetting him as a player, the actual commercial deal that he did, I think was great.
Definitely.
I think we really won on that trade.
For sure.
And when you think about it as well, picking Baker Mayfield at the time, and I'll argue with a lot of people about this, and I don't normally argue, is that I was watching social media last draft round, and not very many people wanted Baker Mayfield as number 1. Everyone wanted him maybe 2 or 3, but Darnold and Rosen and Allen were all big names that people were cheering for. There were some that wanted Baker Mayfield, but a lot of people now say, "Oh, I always wanted Baker. I always wanted Baker." Baker wasn't the clear number 1 favorite for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So he has gone against the grain to get Baker Mayfield, and yeah, touch wood, it's looking like a very good round 1 pick.
In Dorsey, we trust.
That's right. Say, Paul, we just celebrated St. Patrick's Day yesterday. Have you ever been to Ireland for St. Patrick's Day?
I have actually, yes. But the story is not a great story.
It's not a great story?
No. I got horribly drunk. Yeah, it's a family show, so I can't say too much. But anyway, I basically didn't make it out into the evening, so I was at home being ill. So I got too excited too early and was, yeah. But I have been actually in St. Patrick's Day for Ireland.
Paul, we all have those moments. It's all right.
Well, to bring up our next topic, I tried my hand at putting a limerick together. So, Paul, you may be a lot more familiar with these than I am. So let me give you what I have here and see what you guys think, and then we're going to go right into to Sam's introduction of the topic. Here we go. There once was a man named Odell, whose trade a GM was trying to sell. He went to the land to give Baker a hand. Now the Browns are equipped quite well.
It's clever.
Thank you.
Paul?
Rod? Rod?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, don't give up your day job, mate.
All right.
I'm sorry, Rod. I'm sorry. English humour. I do apologise.
I wrote that in my head driving home from work tonight. So
I'm glad because that was my next question. I was going to ask how much time did you invest in that, Rod? So
not a lot. Not a lot.
Phew, that's good. That's good news to hear. That's good.
Tough crowd. All right.
Sorry, Rod. I always give you a hard time. Sorry.
That's okay.
Everybody needs to leave their comment on what they thought of that for Rod.
Maybe a score out of 10.
There you go. Out of 10. How was that for Rod? Next, I want to kind of talk about, the strategy that John Dorsey was, coming up with for this OBJ trade. I read a really good article this morning. I can't remember exactly who it was, and I'm sorry. But this has been about a year-long thing with Dorsey. It really started with, after drafting Baker to see what kind of success he was actually going to have, because it stated in the article that he wanted to trade for him last year. And as we all know, the rumors were flying around. The asking price was just too much at that time because, the Giants had stated that they did want at least 2 first-round picks, and Dorsey just wasn't ready to pull the trigger on that without knowing, how Baker was going to do and if quarterback was going to be another need possibility for this year's draft to fill. So just reading the article, it really got ramped up. We all saw that picture of Gettleman and Dorsey sitting together at the Combine a couple weeks ago, and that's really where the talk started. At that point, it stated that Dorsey was going after Olivier Vernon. That's who his target was then, and we see the end result of that, and he got him. But then, when Monday opened up, when the tampering period opened up, that's when Dorsey really went gung-ho and trying to get Odell, and by the end of Monday really thought that, hey, we've got a really good chance at doing this. Seeing Landon Collins sign elsewhere and leave the Giants really left a huge hole, and a lot of riffraff back, and a lot of shit was given to Gettleman for letting him go. So he knew that there was a huge hole to fill, and I really believe from reading the article that it was Jabril Peppers that really sealed that deal. It gave Gettleman the sense of relief that he was able to fill that spot with a good player, a former first-round player. But, at the same time, Dorsey stated that he didn't want to give Jabril up, but he wasn't going to let that stand in the way of getting of Odell Beckham. He knows that he's a game-changing player and that he was going to have, be quite a weapon for Baker and, something good for Baker's success moving forward. So I just thought it was a great article. Check it out. I read it on Bleacher Report under the Browns section tab. If you get to see that, read it. What are your thoughts on that? I know we've touched on OBJ and John Dorsey both a little bit, Paul, but again, just hearing what I stated, just how John Dorsey strategizes and his way of looking at things, and like you said, picking against what the popular opinion may be. But this was a year-long kind of deal. Have you heard anything about this, or is
Yeah,
this?
sure. Yeah, it's actually a friend of the show, Mary Kay's article, I believe you're talking about. The Browns Odell Beckham trade, a behind-the-scenes look.
Yes,
Is that the one
that's
you're
right.
talking?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
No, it's a good article. There's some other sides of it that I thought about when reading the article. Did it actually start when you go back to episode 2 of Hard Knocks, when you see Beckham and Baker talking before their Giants versus the Browns game in the preseason?
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that a little bit strategic, maybe? Putting it out there that, they're good friends, and I think Von Miller, Baker, Beckham, they never hold back on social media,
Right.
trying to control, like, we're all mates, And I'll give you a bit of international view on this. A lot of the international players in the EPL will hang out together from big rivalries, but you'll never see it on social media. So you would never see an Arsenal and a Spurs player hanging out together on social media. It just wouldn't happen. But in America, in the NFL, it seems to be quite open. Like, of course, you went to college together and then you'll hang out together, but it's almost a bit of a no-no. And like, we have the same thing when we play as a country for England. Then obviously some of the boys will, be in their clubs and they'll have a bit of a chinwag with other clubs, but it's still quite a lot of rivalry, even in the England squad, when it comes to football. So, yeah, it doesn't amaze me a little bit how friendly everyone is off field.
That's a good point. I didn't even look at that like that.
The other thing that I think a lot of people are discounting or not hyping enough is Adam Henry.
Yeah.
Beckham looked up to him through his college career.
Correct.
And then it's like being at school. If you get a chance to go back when you're a bit more developed and work with your old school teacher, it seems like a dream come true. So I think having Adam Henry here was also a huge other factor. And I think the last thing was Peppers gave the Giants a sell to their fans that they were getting 2 first rounds and they're getting 2 first rounds basically, and can we say another player? I guess Zeitler was in it anyway, but yeah, they're getting 2 first rounds and a third basically.
Yeah.
So seeing Peppers as a first round talent, they can go back and say, hang on a minute, guys, we got a first round pick, a first round talent, and a third. So actually, maybe we are the winners, and we're getting cutting our cap space in the near future.
And it's something else too, that it was always John Dorsey's intention to trade that 17th pick. We had seen all those mock drafts go back and forth, and both, I can speak for Rod and I both because we talked about it. We were really excited about picking at 17 because we knew that the defense, how defensive heavy this draft was going to be, that we knew that we were going to be able to immediately fill a void in our defense, which, we all know needs some upgrading. So, just seeing that John Dorsey knew that he was going to get rid of that 17th for OBJ, and it wasn't even a question. So that was interesting to see as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that just how things changed, and I never really imagined that things were even really happening when the price was 2 first round picks for OBJ. I couldn't imagine that the Browns were even interested at that price, but you have to start someplace. So Dorsey did what he had to do, and he did enough talking and waited till the time was right and made the right offer, and he made it happen. I didn't see it coming just because of Dorsey's history with wide receivers, but then again, Odell Beckham Jr. is not your average or even close to your average wide receiver. So it's the whole thing's very interesting. The fact that it took an entire year for this thing to come together.
Yeah, when you look at it like that, I'm a little bit disappointed that we've used our first round pick on the offense.
Yep.
I would like to have used that somehow on the defense, but we've got Odell Beckham, so let's just go with it. There's nothing we can do about it now. He's an absolute superstar. I'm super excited to see how he's going to be with Baker Mayfield. Talent with talent, which we haven't seen too much of Odell Beckham with.
Paul, what do you think is going to open up? What do you think is how is our offense going to benefit the most from Odell being on the team? Do you think it's going to be Baker giving him another target? Do you think our run game is going to open up, a lot more, and we're going to be able to use that more? Or do you think it's going to open up a lot more windows for our wide receivers?
I'm actually seeing it from another dimension. I'm seeing it from the opposition DCs. They're going to be thinking, what the hell is Cleveland doing right now? Because we've got just say four quality wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck three tight ends. Even Seth DeValve, chuck him in there because he's a great catcher and good at running routes, and potentially two great running backs. What are we doing? People, we haven't got people.
What do you take away?
Yeah, people not just going to go, oh Christ, let's put two on Beckham. They just can't afford to do that with the rest of the talent we've got in our offense.
And that was my biggest thing is, at first when the asking price, what we assumed was so high, I was like, how are we willing to give up so much for what could be just a distraction downfield to open up different parts of our game? So I'll be anxious to see how Freddie Kitchens, continues to develop Baker Mayfield in our high-powered offense. But I only think it's going to be for the positive and for the good. So,
and I apologise. I say two running backs. I forget we got three: Chubb, Duke, and Hunt.
For now, yeah.
But right this second, they're on our roster, and our divisional oppositions must be thinking, oh, well, let's get a cornerback first. Hang on a minute. They're going to have three solid running backs potentially on the pitch all at once. We saw it already last season. So, what do we do? How are we going to deal with the Browns strategically?
It's an awesome feeling to have for sure. Well, we are coming to a close on this, guys, but we always like to make sure that we answer some of the fans' questions from Twitter. And I'll start out. I think we've got three quick ones that I'm going to grab. This is for you, Paul. This is from @5YardRush. And the question is, who was your favorite player from the 0-16 team that wasn't Joe Thomas, and why?
Oh.
It's a hard question.
All right. I'm honest as it comes. That season, my favorite player was Kaiser.
Okay.
I was super excited about the potential of him. If you followed the draft through that year, he was a first round pick and was potentially at some points the number one quarterback. I thought that we got an absolute gem, and I thought that he was going to be our superstar. And I didn't want him to start straight away, and it did happen, and that's not defense to Kaiser. And obviously, he got chucked in the deep end. He panicked. He made some big errors and maybe scarred for life. But that year, he was the one player that I was most excited about and probably my favorite player.
Rod, I'm going to give you a chance to answer that as well.
Oh, my gosh. How many of those guys are even still on the team? There's not many of them around anymore. I would say... I would have to go with I'm gonna say Myles Garrett then. I mean, why not, right?
Right.
It's safe, Rod. That's a safe answer.
I was gonna say
why not? I mean,
no, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who was even on that team, Paul. I'm trying to forget a lot of those.
Crowell was doing reasonably well that season, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been a Duke fan and Crowell, and you know, there were a lot of guys. I would seriously have to go back and look at that roster at this point. There's been so much turnover since that team. It's hard to even think back to who some of the starters were on offense and defense on that team at this point.
All right, guys, we'll move on to the next question. Paul, this is
Come on, Sam. Sam, you go answer the question.
Oh my God, I'm gonna go with a safe. I'm gonna go with a safe answer. I'm gonna say Myles Garrett as well. But you know what? Also, I really liked Buddy Calhoun. He was on that team too.
Good shout.
That's true. Yeah.
I thought he was. You know, I know he's not with us anymore, but I always thought he was a good hitter. He was raw. I could see the potential in him, so I'm gonna go with Buddy Calhoun.
Mate, that's a good choice.
That was good.
I think he was PFF one of the highest ranked players that year as well.
Right. All right, Paul, next question for you. How long, this is coming from WTF Browns, how long have you been a Browns fan?
Yeah, good question. So, about 15 years. So, I always bought Browns gear, and the story was my friend went over to America, and I said to him, can you pick me up some T-shirts? And he came back with T-shirts from America, and my first ever Browns T-shirt was just simply grey T-shirt with the material of the American football with Browns on it. So that was my first ever T-shirt, and I used to wear it all the time. I had a Browns hat. So I was more of you could say a bandwagon fan in them days, just wearing the clothes like anyone in England would wear a Raiders top, for example. But yeah, Browns were always my team. And then obviously over the years, when I got more and more into NFL, my friends would be texting me saying, on TV it says they're playing at your stadium, the Bengals playing at the Paul Brown Stadium. So I had to make a choice. Am I either a Bengals or a Browns fan? And I went with the Browns. So I would say the last 5 years, I've known the roster, I would say, inside out. But yeah, 15 years as a Browns fan. Maybe some people in Ohio are bandwagon, or not the word bandwagon, but just know what's going on roughly with the results. But yeah, 5 years I know the roster inside out.
What was your first piece of Browns apparel? Do you remember exactly what it was?
Yeah, it was that. It was the grey T-shirt with the Browns as the American football material.
Cool, awesome. Rod,
I've got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
I'll start with Sam. I'll put Sam under the cosh. Do you think we should trade up for a first-round pick this year?
So back into the first round.
Yeah, sorry, back into the first round.
In different scenarios, it really depends on what kind of holes we're trying to fill, and I would like them to be, taking in consideration that the defense needs to be, looked at. I feel if defensive tackle is the spot, then I think we could wait to get Jeffrey Simmons in the second round. I think we might have to move up a little bit in the second round to get him. But if we're targeting defensive tackle, I like where we're at. Now, I personally think that we should, because I really like Byron Murphy, the cornerback out of Washington. I think that he would be an excellent pairing with Denzel Ward and would really solidify the corners moving forward for the 2019 season. So to answer your question directly without considering the position, definitely so, and let's go get ourselves a corner.
Rod?
I don't think so, just because I think the cost is going to be too much to get back into the first. From the calculations I did, just looking at the charts, it would take the first, take the second, third, fourth, and the first fifth round pick, I think, to get up just to the bottom of the first round, I think to like pick 28. So to me, I think the odds are better to just probably try to move up higher into the second round. I don't see him going all the way into the first. I think it would probably take a future draft choice, a future first to get into the first round where he would want to go to get the player he wants.
Maybe with the Pats, Duke Johnson and a third, maybe we move up and take their spot, but that's Could happen.
Well, with that being said,
It's possible.
Do you want to move back into the first? And then at the same question, would you be willing to trade Duke Johnson to get back into the first?
No, I would love to keep Duke Johnson in the building as long as possible. If we can keep his mindset less grumpy and moody with a lack of snaps. But I believe having depth in all positions, high quality, will get us to the playoffs, especially when you think about last season. We're all talking about how are we going to keep our linebackers happy. We've got 4 solid linebackers, and we're going to next season. They're going to be upset. Within 3 games, we're let back with 2 linebackers. So all it takes is one injury to Chubb. He's got that is it knee, I believe, or it's not. He has obviously had an operation many years ago on his knee. Anything could happen at any time. So I'm all for keeping Duke Johnson as pure talent in the building. If Landry gets injury, Duke can play in the slot. I think I would like us to keep Duke as long as we possibly can. Same with Ogba. I would want him. There's no reason to trade him except for to be greedy for future trade picks.
I agree with you. And we're going to close things out here, guys. But before we do, I have a proposal, because you guys have gone back and forth over this cooking thing on Twitter. And you know what? I live about halfway between Cleveland and Louisville. So the next time you're in Cleveland, Paul, Sam's in Louisville, you guys come to my house. Let's have a cook-off. My wife and I will be happy to be the judges, and we can settle this thing once and for all. How about that?
Well, mate, halfway between Cleveland and London's New York or Cape Verde. So, and you being his coerced as a judge, no, I'm not having that at all. So,
I just want to eat both. I just want to eat your cooking and Sam's cooking. That's just seems like a good deal for me. So,
well, I've got I'm in Cleveland. I'm 90% there. End of May. I just got to book some flights. I'm coming into Detroit for a week to do some work, and then I'm going to come down for the weekend. And this is an exclusive for your show. I didn't even said it on my show yet. So I'm planning a charity pub crawl on Saturday the 25th, and maybe the night before I'm thinking about doing a bid. And Sam, if you want to be involved, it's going to be try and find someone's house with 6 places, and if everyone donates a blind bid of maybe we get $100 each for each seat, then I'm going to give it to my friend Matthew Dixon's charity. He's got bone cancer, so I am looking at that as an option at the moment. Cool. Nothing's finalised, but right. Sam, maybe we could do breakfast Saturday morning, me versus you, and maybe some people come along and pay to enjoy the experience and give to charity.
An English versus American breakfast. We've seen it on Twitter quite a bit, haven't we, Paul?
Yeah, the only difference between myself and you, Sam, is that I've actually got the guts to, cook the opposition's breakfast first and put it online. So, Sam, I'm waiting for you to cook the English breakfast and show it to me.
All right, man. Whatever it takes. Challenge accepted. You heard it first, okay, cool. Right here on the Browns Blitz.
But we'll Sam, we'll do something, and as long as it's got a charity element to it, and sure. it can involve other people coming along and getting involved, and that'd be awesome. That'd
be great. Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Paul. It's been a great pleasure, and we appreciate you coming on to the show with us.
No, Rod, thank you very much, and apologies that I always pick on you and give you a hard time.
It's no problem at all. Thanks. And this has been the Browns Blitz, and we'll catch everybody next time.
Go Browns!